everyone. Welcome back to Find Me a Book podcast. I'm your host, Tav, and this is a podcast where we talk about romance books with someone, aka husband, who's never read a romance book before.
I have not. I wait for the movie.
That's right. You would wait for a romance movie like The Notebook.
Well, I wouldn't wait for that movie. I just would rather watch the movie.
So if someone said, hey, The Notebook is a really good book, you would say, I'll wait for the movie.
I would say, I don't care. You can tell me about it.
So we'll just say that the genre of romance is not what you go towards.
It's not my first choice.
Okay, what would be your first choice then?
Comedy.
Okay.
Which, according to Shakespeare, is nothing but a romance.
Hey, one day... Wait, I think you did explain it to us on one of the episodes that comedy is romance. Right?
I think I just told you that in the car.
Maybe, just barely.
Comedies are just romances.
Yeah, he read this book that I guess was super dry, that was talking about comedy and like the different things. I don't know. I was listening, I promise, but I just don't remember.
A classic comedy ends with everyone getting married. That was kind of the thing.
Oh.
Comedies end in marriage. Tragedies end in everyone dying.
Truth.
Which, yeah. That was the most pretentious part of this episode. And we'll move on from it. We'll move on from it. We don't want to unpack that.
It was so pretentious, JR. How dare you? We are not pretentious here.
No.
Well, welcome back to another week of Find Me a Book podcast, everyone. We are going to kind of stray away from talking about a singular book today, and we're going to be talking about a trope, a specific trope. And it is the age gap romance trope.
Ah, the age gap romance trope.
Yes. You remember what that one is?
Is that where one person's like a significantly older than the other person?
It is.
And May-December relationship.
Yeah. I guess I don't understand. Well, I didn't look into it like really far, like research, but I guess I don't know what would be considered an age gap. Because like I'm 30 and you're 34.
Well, let's not give away all of our secrets.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying.
I'm 35.
You're 35. I keep thinking you're 34.
I'm 35.
So is ours considered an age gap romance? That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know how many years between would be considered an age gap romance.
I think the younger someone is, the more significant the years are.
Okay, so...
Like, if you're 18 and you're dating a 25-year-old, that is significant.
Is it, though?
Yeah. Think about it. An 18-year-old...
I mean, that's 7 years?
Okay, 7 years. But
ours
even
is
if
5 years, though. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
You're trying to tell everyone that we have an age gap romance?
Well, I don't know. Is it considered an age gap romance?
I met you when you were 20.
I was 20.
You had just turned 20.
Yeah.
I was 25.
Which, okay, side story about us. He was so set. He's like, I am not going to date someone in their teen years, like 18, 19. I'm not going to date someone like that. And then he met me 2 weeks after I turned 20. So I'm like, oh, I looked out.
And I was like, technically, she's not a teenager anymore.
Technically. I barely skirted by.
It was very much on the line. I had a lot of bad experiences, as most people in their mid-20s probably have with teenagers. Like, it's not love.
That's fair. So I just barely skirted by. Thank goodness for that. 10 years later, here we are. Yep. So that's what I've been wondering, like, as I've been reading these age gap romances, which I've read a couple, and then I decided to do this episode because I was like, I just kind of want to talk about it more. I don't know my feelings on this. So yeah, that's one of my questions that I thought of, like how many years in between? But before we really jump into that, I wanted to give you guys an update on my TBR list, because I feel like a couple weeks ago, I gave you this whole long list of books that I wanted to read, and I just wanted to kind of give you an update on those and where those kind of like laid off.
And for those of us who don't know what a TBR is that like tuberculosis test?
Yes, I just had my test. I passed.
You're positive for tuberculosis?
Yes. So I'm pretty sure that's TB, like a TB test.
I know, TB.
Okay. Well, TBR.
What's
TBR?
TBR?
A TBR is to be read.
Oh.
So it's the list of books that I just kind of like add to of the books, like my order of what I'm going to read.
Are there more things like that in the book world of like acronyms?
Oh, I guess we could talk about that at one point. I don't know all of them right now, but I can research them. Just so if anyone's kind of getting into the book world, I had to kind of I had to really look at things too when I started going into like the book talk and TikTok, because there's one that's like MMC, and I was like, I have no idea what that means, but it's main male character.
Oh.
And yeah, there's quite a few that I've had to look up because, yeah, you're right. Like, it's not really well known what these acronyms are unless you're in that world constantly. So to go back to my TBR, which is To Be Read list, I read Woke Up Like This by Amy Leah. That one was super cute. That one was like a 13 going on 30 rendition, or like kind of retelling. They were in high school. They were setting up prom. They're kind of enemies to lovers, or rivals, I guess. And then they fall off this ladder trying to decorate for prom, and they wake up and they're both 30 and they're engaged to each other. And so
is this the age gap or is this a TBR?
No, this is a TBR.
Okay.
This was a super cute book. It definitely wasn't spicy, but it was just really cute and I enjoyed it. The next one I've kind of talked about, I think I mentioned it on the podcast, but I definitely mentioned it on my TikTok. Whitney G just came out with a book. It's called I Wish I Would Have Told You. And that one was the one that she said not to read any like synopsis or blurb or anything like that. And I remember the book that I had talked about. There's a book called Whispers and Roars. And if anyone wants to read this is kind of going to be a spoiler. But this is one also.
Spoiler alert.
Another one. Oh my gosh. No, Whispers and Roars is one where it has a really big twist at the end where it's kind of a strange book, kind of like has this romance. But then at the end you figure out that she has multiple personalities. And then you see like...
That's a really big spoiler.
I know, that's what I said.
I'm glad you said spoiler alert. But
I did.
That's
so that one was the Whispers and Roars. And that one came out like 6 or 7 years ago. The one by Whitney G, I Wish I Would Have Told You, isn't like that at all. It has like a little twist at the end, but I thought... Like I had my hopes up that it would be really big like this other one, and it wasn't. So, but it was still really good. Still a really good twist. Lucy Score came out with her third book, The Things We Left Behind. Very, very good. I'm going to be doing that on the podcast next week. And then Winter Renshaw, her second book in the Hate Mail series came out. It's called Yours Cruelly, and that one was amazing. I loved it. The third book I think is coming out next month, which I'm super excited for. There was, I hope everyone kind of saw it on TikTok. I found out about it the day of, but there's a day called Stuff Your Kindle Day where you basically go on Amazon and go through all these like free books and you can just download them and have them. Like you don't have to return them with like Kindle Unlimited or anything like that. And so I did a TikTok with all those books. I found 19 books. So that I think will keep me busy for a while. One of them was an age gap romance and kind of like spurred all this. Spurred or spurned? Spurned all of this? I don't know. Is that even the right word?
Yeah, but they're two very... So spurred is what you meant. Spurned is like jaded. Like you heard someone's...
Nope,
I got spurned by my lover.
Oh.
They left me.
That's fair.
In an angry manner.
I did just finish one of the books that I picked up that I really, really liked. It was called To Carve a Fey Heart by Tessonja Odette. And I guess it's a trilogy. I just picked up the second book because I loved it so much. It kind of gave me vibes of A Court of Thorn and Roses. And I really like that. So I definitely recommend picking that one up. But if you want to go see all 19 books that I have, go look on my TikTok and you'll be able to see the ones that I picked up. The next thing that I want to talk about...
And your TikTok is called Find Me in a Book?
Yes,
podcast?
Find Me in a Book podcast.
There you go.
Okay, another thing on our little housekeeping list is I asked my mom and sister what they are currently reading, and my mom... She's so funny. I don't think she knows how to send screenshots. So she sends me 5 of screenshots of like her Kindle, and then she like draws an arrow to the one that she's reading. So my mom's reading another cowboy book. It's called Remembering the Cowboy by Mandi Blake. I think she's in her cowboy era right now because the past couple times I've asked her what she's reading, they've been like cowboy books. So Giddy up in Idaho in a little suburb. Hey, she wants to live on a ranch. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I should ask her. So my sister, she's been busy. We've kind of talked about that, but she is starting to read the whole little series that my mom and I did of Thorns and Beauty. So this is like a 5-book series that are like retelling of different fairy tales. So the first one is like Beauty and the Beast, and then it like moves on to the next like fairy tales and they go along with each other. They're super, super good. So she's starting to read that. So kind of wanted to get that out of the way just to update you guys. And then, yeah, I am really ready for this discussion, if you are ready for this discussion.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Let's get to it. So we're going to be talking about age gap romances. And this is a trope that I knew existed. And I had kind of read a couple throughout the years of what I've been reading. But it's not something I ever reached for just because I kind of feel weird. Like the ones that I've read, I
feel weird about it. Reading about significantly older men.
Yeah, like
going after younger women.
I wasn't against it. I just was weird about it because it was really new.
Old guys and young women, or old women and young guys? Because it goes both ways.
It does. I don't know, because I'm a female, and so I might look at it different. For some reason in my mind, I think it's weirder for an older guy and a younger girl, because I feel like the girl is being sexualized as like kind of like a sex icon. Oh, she's younger. Like, oh, he's so cool. Like, he has this younger girl. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's why there's a lot of connotation with it. Like, people are really like leery of it because there is such like a stigma about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of makes sense, because when guys are like in their 20s, most of the time they can't get that young hot girl because they're just, their value isn't good. They haven't learned enough yet. They haven't made their way in the world.
They haven't become wealthy. They haven't had a higher status, or like,
yeah, they're nobodies. So when they get older, it's like, now I can like have whatever I want.
That's
so
fair.
There's an appeal for guys in that manner, and like that's kind of the psychology behind it. Yeah. At least in marketing, when I write for scripts and stuff like that. Yeah, that's how it
fair.
works.
That's good to know. So I read the book that kind of like got my mind thinking about all of this was Here With Me by Brooke Montgomery. And I'm going to kind of tell you about the book, and I want to know your thoughts on just what you think about it. So,
okay. And this is all age gap romance stuff.
Age gap romance. We're going to talk about two books. So the first book is based in Tennessee, and she is 20, I believe, and he's in his 40s. But she's at this rodeo. She sees him. They catch each other's eyes. Just a minute. Okay. I know I could see your thoughts going.
Well, I'm like 40. Like, is he 40 or is she 20?
There's some other things that I need to tell you about it.
Okay.
So they see each other at this rodeo. They catch each other's eye. They flirt with each other. They get each other's numbers. He goes to a bar to see her. They sleep with each other. After that, she finds out that it's her ex-boyfriend's dad.
Oh. That's awkward.
Yes.
That's uncomfortable.
So later that week, because she kind of ghosts him once she figures out that the ex-boyfriend, he was never close to his dad. His dad left when he was young, and so he doesn't really know anything about him. So she didn't know who he was. He didn't know who she was. And so later that week, he actually shows up on their ranch, and he is their new horseshoe person. I know that there's a...
Farrier?
How do you know that term?
You just read about stuff.
Oh, I mean, I read about it and I forgot about it. So the new farrier.
I think it's a farrier.
I think so. And so they recognize each other.
If it's not, comment what it actually is.
I'm pretty sure it's a farrier.
Okay.
So they see each other. She's technically his boss because she kind of oversees the ranch and like their whole big like production and everything. And so he automatically, like, he has feelings for her. He really likes her. She's really spunky and fiery, and she's more like, I don't know, like, you're my ex-boyfriend's dad. But they start to spend a lot of time together, and then it goes from there, and they like fall in love and everything. So what are your thoughts on that? No. I think he's like later 40s.
There's so many bro codes broken in that instant.
Is there? But the boyfriend, like the ex-boyfriend and the dad were never close. And in the book, he does have a hard time because he's like, hey, I really need to tell my son if I'm going to create this like trusting relationship with him, like I need to tell him. And it doesn't go over well with the son, obviously.
No. I mean, you've completely betrayed. Like,
but he didn't know, though.
You're right. He didn't know his son. But any chance that he had of salvaging a relationship with his son is over, in my opinion.
That's fair. I mean, it doesn't happen that way in the book.
Hey, son, I've come back into your life. Oh, by the way, I'm with your ex.
I know.
So
And
every
she's like
time
20
he
years
sees the
younger.
ex, yeah, every time he sees the ex, all of the reasons. Who broke up? Did she break up with him or did he break up with her?
With the original boyfriend?
Yeah.
She broke up with him. Yeah.
Absolutely. His life with his father's ruined.
Oh my gosh. Well, it didn't end up that way. It was a happily ever after.
Sure. In the book.
Okay, so
it can be a
that
happily ever
situation,
after.
no go on that age romance.
No.
Okay.
No. Well, you're breaking the bro code on that.
Okay, well then what's the bro code?
The bro code, like, all right, say you got a bunch of dudes who live together, like college or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you remember Scott, me, and Spencer,
Yeah.
and Greg. Like, let's say that Scott broke up with a girl, or if he broke up with her, it's different. But if she broke up with him,
Mm-hmm.
and then one of us as roommates started dating her, no.
That's a no-go.
That's a no-go.
But it's a different relationship, though.
Okay,
Because
it's
it's
only a
his
go if it
dad.
stays secret and it doesn't go anywhere.
Well, it was secret for a long time.
But it went somewhere, and now
I
it has to come to
know.
the surface. All right, you can date your bro's ex, but he can never know about it. It can never get serious if you want to preserve your bro relationship.
You should write a book. This should be How I Met Your Mother. Give them
The bro code.
The bro code. Okay, I can see
But
that.
if your bro broke up with the girl and he's cool with it, then it's okay.
Okay, so it has to be like on his terms. He has to
Yeah.
kind of give you the okay for it.
Yeah, like.
But what if she comes to you and is like, "Hey, we should date. We should go out," and then you go to the bro and say like, "Hey, she came and asked me," and he says it's okay. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Like
that's
as long as you
different.
talk to him, right?
Yeah, as long as if there's that open communication.
Yeah.
But this sounds like a father and an estranged son.
It is. So, do you think that he would have been he wouldn't have been okay with it if the dad came to him like right after seeing each other after 20 years and been like, "Hey, is it okay if I date your ex-girlfriend?" I don't think he would have been okay with that.
This is a comedy right now, what you're
I
describing.
know.
in this book.
It was kind of
One of the common
comical.
tropes of comedy is misunderstandings and miscommunications. That's
Yeah.
like the basis of every comedy. And so this miscommunication, I
Yeah.
can see it playing out in a scene and just the uncomfortable nature of a father trying to communicate with his son.
It was
I'm
kind
trying-
of uncomfortable just reading it.
So we're describing a comedy right now.
We are. Okay, so the next book that I want to talk about, it was part of the ones that I picked up.
Wait, we didn't talk about how old. Like, is he 40 and she's 20?
Yeah, I know that she's like 20 or 22. She's like early 20s.
Okay.
And he's like later in his 40s.
That's significant.
That is significant.
Yeah, that's. If she slept with him, so I mean, he must be handsome. Everything must be like
He
holding
was
up together.
he was described as very handsome.
Yeah, you know what? To each their own. It is
Just the
weird on
ruggedly-
the outside looking in because you're not in the situation.
Yeah. I mean,
It's-
if he's a good guy and everything's fine,
If you're fine with it, you just have to know that like people are gonna look at you funny.
true.
But
But they did try and make it a little bit, like the author did try and like make it a little bit better in the book because they always have these family dinners and the grandma can tell that there's something between them. And so she talks to like the girl and was like, "Yeah, your grandpa was like 20 years older than me," and kind of like tried to relate to her.
maybe grandma was just
And-
trying to soften the blow. She's like, I saw this young man in town.
So she's going after him?
Yeah, maybe there's a 18-year-old boy that grandma's
Oh my
hitting at.
gosh, no.
So she's trying to make it seem like, oh no, it's cool that you two date. I like younger men too.
No, her husband was 20 years older than her.
Wait,
the
the
grandma.
grandma?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the
But when did
author
they meet?
tried.
See,
It
that's
was like in the 50s.
see, like if a 50-year-old started dating a 30-year-old, that's different. Like,
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
mean, it's still like a big gap, but that's not as like
Yeah.
shocking as like.
True. Which before we get into the next one, and I have asked you this, I think like multiple times now, but just
Would I
on
love
the
you
record.
if you were like a bug or something or
No.
a butterfly?
No, not
The answer is no. I would not love you if you were a butterfly.
no.
'Cause you are not a
If
human.
something were to happen to us and you had to start dating again, what would be your age limit? Like, how old would you date and how young would you date?
Mid-25, mid-20s.
That's
the
it.
youngest.
That's okay. So that's the youngest.
That's the line.
Okay. So about 10 years younger than you.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. And maybe 10 years older than you?
No, because I kind of want kids.
I mean,
So
okay.
a woman who's like,
But what if she already has
45,
kids?
Insta family. That's different.
Yeah.
That would be weird.
Would it be weird?
No, it's really subjective.
It is. Yeah. It depends on the person. But
Because if she already had kids that were grown, that's a weird mix to come into. Like
Okay.
if the kids are like 10 and 15,
yeah.
I am a weird person to come into their life. If the kids are younger, like, maybe like 10 and younger, like, it's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
And if, how in the picture is their father?
Right.
Is their dad like a piece of garbage?
Yeah.
Or is he like
or did he like
good
die
father,
or something?
Or did he die?
Yeah.
Like, it's there's so many variations.
That's fair because we kind of saw like your mom got remarried after your dad died.
Yeah,
and
so
we
I
saw
got to
that.
See all of those dynamics.
True, because she had older
It's very
kids, but she
real.
also had. How young were your brothers when she started?
My
to get
youngest
married?
brother is 14 years younger than me.
Okay, so when she had her second marriage, how old were your youngest? Because you were in college. Like we had met.
10 maybe.
10. So there was a variation with that. Of like the guy had married into a family that had ranging from 25 to 10.
Yeah, well, he had kids, she had kids, so
That's true. It's a little bit
different. They were both
different.
kind of like in the same stage of life,
Right.
so it makes sense.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so we found out your age gap. We found
My
out
limit.
your limit. Yes. Okay, so now the next one. It's called "Don't Kiss the Bride" by Carian Cole. This one, I don't know how to feel about it still because I finished it. So, okay, so we open up. It's the girl. She's 18 years old. She's in high school.
Okay.
And so she's like older for her grade. She got held
this
back.
This is already weird. Like, she's in high school.
Yeah.
So she's an 18-year-old in high school.
She is, yeah.
That's a hard pass for me.
I know. Okay, but hear me out. So she has this Corvette from her grandpa. She comes into like the parking lot, whatever. She has like her oldies music. It gets the attention of the construction crew that's right next door. And one of them is the guy. And I can't remember his name, but he like looks over, he acknowledges that she's attractive. And then how does it work? Oh, after school, she comes out and her car's not working. And she's the only one in the parking lot. And so he's like,
Sounds like a start to a porno.
Okay.
But keep going. Keep going.
So he's like, I can't leave this girl all by herself at night, like with a car that doesn't work. And so he pulls up, he stays in his car, and
So he's
like,
a daddy in this situation.
well, he's 34.
Yeah. No, he's playing daddy, though. He's like,
Okay.
oh, this poor defenseless girl. He's playing protector role.
Protector role, yeah. So he's like, hey, do you need me to call someone for you? Like, how can I help you? And so she's very like cautious, like stranger danger. He calls like a tow truck for her, waits until the tow truck gets there. She's very, very poor. She doesn't have any money to get like an Uber or anything. So he's like, if you're comfortable with it, I can take you to your house. And so she's like, okay, that's fine. She like keeps her backpack between them. She tells him that she has a knife. Wow. And he's like, well, you probably shouldn't tell me that you have a knife just because now I can plan for it if something were to happen. You know what I'm saying? And so he's trying to like help her seem like the good guy. And so she gets dropped off.
I don't like this situation. It's uncomfortable.
I know. Just wait.
This is another comedy thing. Miscommunication
I know.
and
Just wait,
misunderstandings.
though.
All right.
Just wait.
I'm waiting.
So she waits till he leaves, and then she crawls through her window. So we find out that her mom is a hoarder. And they live in this trailer. So the daughter, she has to lock her bedroom door, else her mom will come in and just put everything in her room, and she'll have no room. So this girl can't even go to the bathroom in the trailer. She has to use her cat's litter box. Like, she has locked the door.
This is
like
sad.
she has like what does she call it? It's not bulimia or anorexia. It's something like a combination of that.
Body dysmorphia?
No, it's a particular thing. I should have wrote it down, but basically when she was younger, they never had any fresh food and she got food poisoning too many times. And so just like the thoughts or the looks of certain foods make her really sick. And so she can't like eat properly. And so, but they don't have health insurance. They don't have money for her to go see a therapist. Her mom doesn't talk to her. They only like text. Her dad's completely out of the picture. Like it's just her and like her best friend that she has.
Okay,
So it's
hold
like
on.
a really bad situation.
So the guy that picked her up, though, is he like a dad of someone at the school?
No.
He's just a stranger.
He's just a stranger. He was doing construction like next to the school and saw.
Okay, I was thinking he was connected to someone in the school. All right, but keep on going. This is a very sad background.
It is. And they want you to like feel that way towards her.
Yep,
because then he sees her. When does he see her again? Oh, she's going into school. He kind of hears like a ruckus and he sees her like faint on the sidewalk. So he goes over, takes her to the hospital. They find out she has all those eating disorders. He like feels protective.
Malnutrition?
Yeah, malnutrition, dehydration, just a lot of like they say that she needs to go to a therapist, needs to go to doctors, medications, things like that. She can't afford it. She doesn't have health insurance. And he finds out. And he also finds out that her mom is a hoarder and finds out her situation, everything like that. Just feels really terrible. He is a good guy. He's a good guy, and he wants her to know that. And so a couple days later, he comes to her and he says, hey, what are your thoughts on marrying me? Having a marriage of convenience so that you can have health insurance. We can get you out of that house. You can come live at my house. It's a really big house. Like she'd have her own room. She could bring her cat, just like, and no strings attached, like no like benefits, anything like that, you know? Like, and so for health insurance to get what she needs, and then when she's ready, she can leave. And so she thinks about it for a while, and then she decides to do it. So they get married, just the two of them, and then she gets her health insurance.
It's a very hush-hush thing?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very hush-hush, and she gets the help that she needs, and then they, like, fall in love. And there is that kind of, like, storyline where he does feel really guilty. He's like, I'm not a predator. Like, I'm not like he's trying to be very good. Like, he's trying to be the good person and be like, no, I understand this is a weird situation. Like, I understand how this looks.
I know you're really young, but if you want to marry me for health insurance, let's do that.
I don't know. Like, it kind of makes you feel for both of them. Like,
you know, the weird thing about all romance books is that it just depends on if the person is attractive or ugly, and that shapes the story. If they're attractive, it's a love story. If they're ugly, this is a horror movie. This is a nightmare.
That's so sad because it's true.
Yep. If this was an ugly dude, this girl would be calling the police, getting a restraining order.
That's awful. I don't want to think about that.
But this is cute because he's attractive. So like,
yeah, he's like a bad boy with like. He like has his own company. He's like contract company or like construction company. Like he's made a name for himself. Like he has all these tattoos. Like he's very rugged looking. He did go through like a bad time with his childhood, and like and it comes out that like he had a younger sister that he couldn't like save, and so he's basically trying to save this other girl and trying to like kind of make up for it. And so, like, that's kind of...
Overcompensating?
Yeah.
His character flaw?
Yeah.
That she seeks
So
over.
what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think that is inappropriate, or do you think that is really...
How old is he?
He's 34, and she's 18. Is that too much? Like, that's...
Yeah.
Because that's over 10 years.
If you go... I mean... The way that they do these books, though, is like they're just breaking the social norm. Yes, it's too he's so much older than her,
right?
But he's trying to help her and get around,
right,
like the laws and stuff. He's like, "Hey, we can get married. You can do that." So he presents it in a way that's like kind of acceptable.
Mm-hmm. And
Sorry,
if
I'm like dissecting.
No,
like,
it's okay.
The marketability of the book, like, yeah, this is a fun thought experiment.
Yeah.
What if the dude was really nice? They do it like this, and then.
I mean, I think it would have been okay if like they didn't fall in love and they just had a very like. Platonic.
Was he
like,
dating
friendship.
people while they were married?
He not really. Like he kind of did, and so it still stayed separate for a while. But then it was just kind of like that close proximity relationship.
You know, with some of the people we know, yeah, that's a pretty normal thing. I mean, we have some friends that did some things kind of like that.
We did?
Yeah, don't say their names out loud though, because it's still going on.
Who do I know? Who it is?
Yeah, you know who they are.
I don't remember. Is it the people that got married before us?
No.
Was I a roommate?
No.
I don't remember then. We'll
Really?
have to talk off
You tell me that.
camera.
Okay, you have to edit this part out.
Okay. Oh, I see.
Find different loopholes.
That's true. I did just watch, I watched it a couple times. It's called Purple Hearts on Amazon Prime. Or actually, it's on Netflix. And that one is where she marries him to get like the military benefits because she has diabetes and needs like the insulin shots, and she doesn't have health insurance for it, or her insurance doesn't cover it. And so they do like get married, and then he gets in trouble at the end for that. And so like, do you think it's very common that people do that? Like for like benefits and like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe
I
they just don't
say
talk about
it's
it.
Common, but I
Right.
would say it probably happens.
It's probably common enough that there's signs that people like the military, like in that situation, like the Purple Hearts movie, that they like look for it, and so that's how he got in trouble. So it must be not common enough, but it happens that people are like looking for different signs of that.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay, so that's too big of a gap romance for you, especially with her being 18. If she was like 24,
it's the teenager thing.
that's
Like,
fair.
Any girl
It gets kind of uncomfortable.
She's 18 years old. She's going to be a completely different person when she's 19.
Right.
And then she's
especially
gonna be
her being in high school.
Yeah. Every year she's going, like, her whole personality is going to change.
Yeah.
And that's why it's weird, because you're old. Like, if you're in your 30s, you're not like set in your ways, but you're pretty established with who you are.
They say that your brain kind of like stops developing, or like the developing at 25.
Yeah.
And so you're right. Like, I am not the same person I was when I was 18, like at all. And so, yeah, it kind of makes you wonder, like, what's going to happen later on. Like, he's already had these situations in his life.
He's had a lot of life experiences that shaped him who he is. So he's not going to change. So she could totally fall in love with him, and he's not going to change. But she's going to change a lot.
Right. And so that's a big thing that we don't really talk about in age gap romances.
Which is why the age gap thing is
hard.
Yeah, it's hard. It's weird.
Because, yeah, if she was like later in her 20s and he was like in his 50s, that's still a big gap, but she's already gone through things in life that kind of have shaped her. So, yeah, you're right. I didn't really think about it that way with like kind of like personality change or just like who they become.
I don't think it's weird when there's like an age gap with people. I mean, like, you know, it happens, but I think anyone like committing when they're in their teens.
Yeah.
And like,
I mean, in the culture that we grew up with, that's very prevalent.
I know. It's prevalent.
So it makes it hard. Okay, so after we've kind of like talked about this, what number do you think would you consider an age gap romance? I'm going to say 10. If you're 10 years older than your significant other, I'm going to say that's a big age gap romance.
Yeah,
like,
I think 10's a good number, a decade.
Yeah.
I think 5 years is like kind of right on that line.
Mm-hmm. It's weird when we talk about it because I'm like, oh yeah, I was in middle school when you would graduate. Like, that's weird to talk about.
Yeah.
And we're just 5 years apart.
We are 5 years apart.
I know. But yeah, I agree. The 10. I think 10
Our
would be
parents
good.
were 5 years apart.
Were they?
Mm-hmm.
I think my parents are a year apart.
Yeah.
So that's different. Okay, so I wrote down, I scoured through TikTok and wrote down some of the most popular age gap romances. So I'm going to list them out. They'll also be in the show notes below, so that you can kind of look at them and see if you want to read any of them. So it looks like Penelope Douglas, I've read a couple of her books. She, I think, reverts to age gap romance quite a bit because she showed up a lot. So I did read, this one. Oh my gosh, I forgot about this one. So this one was on the list. So it's called Credence. So she has two.
Credence Clearwater?
Yes. So she had Credence and then she had Birthday Girl. And I'm sure there's some other ones. But I forgot that I read Credence. And Credence was weird. Like, I didn't like that one because it's like they are like not actually cousins, but like they grew up together.
Hold on. Age gap and like family connections is different.
Right, but hear me out. So they grew up and they just called each other cousins.
But
then
they're not cousins?
They're not cousins.
Okay.
And so I think something happens with her parents or something like that. So she goes to live with this family, and there's the dad and there's the two sons. And I think she has a little relationship with one of the sons, but then also the dad. And then she ends up, I think, with the son. Yeah, that's what I was.
And she ends up with the son?
She ends up with the son, yeah.
That's...
And so I'm pretty sure it's been a couple years since I read this. I'm pretty sure she ends up with a son.
You know, my cousins got married.
Oh, yeah, from the two different sides.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, you can't say it like that. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine.
They were probably panicking.
I know. Now we explain. My cousins, both of my first cousins got married.
Yeah.
My dad's nephew married my mom's niece. So they're not blood
And how
related.
did they even meet?
At a family reunion.
Was it? Oh. Hey, every
They
family
met at a
has
family
something.
reunion, which is so funny to me.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure my parents are related. Like, we figured
What?
that out. It's like my grandma's grandpa, his brother, they were brothers. And so my dad's line comes from that, like, on
Your
my grandma.
grandma's grandpa.
My grandma, okay, so my dad's mom.
Your dad's mom.
Her grandpa.
Her grandpa. So your
was brothers.
Great grandpa.
Yes, was brothers with my mom's dad. I think it was my mom's mom or my mom's dad's great.
Okay.
So they were brothers.
So 4 generations back,
My parents are related.
your parents are related.
Yes. Have I ever told you that?
No.
Oh, well, surprise.
Great.
I forgot about that. I need
Great.
to ask my mom.
We're going to unpack we're going to schedule a conversation later.
I think we should. Okay, back to this list. So there's the 2 by Penelope Douglas, and then there's Belladonna by Adalyn Grace, Cruel Summer by Morgan Elizabeth, Part of Your World by Amy Jimenez, Tempt Our Fate by Kate Singleton, Forbidden Hearts by Corinne Michaels, Balance by Lucia Franco, Tools of Engagement by Tessa Baily, which I love Tessa Baily. I think I've actually read that book, but I don't remember. And then The Tried and True Kulti by Mariana Zapata, which we've talked about that book. It's where he was like the soccer star and she loved him when she was like a little girl. And then she grew up to become like a professional soccer player and he becomes her coach. Oh. And then, so that's an age gap.
Wait,
romance.
we talked about that?
Yeah, just because Mariana Zapata is my favorite author.
Okay.
And we've like kind of talked about it a little bit. I don't know if you would remember.
I mean, I remember you talking about, what was the football one?
The Wall of Winnipeg.
Yeah, the Wall of Winnipeg.
That one kind of is a age gap, but not really. Like
that's Mariana Zapata. Though,
it
right?
is, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So that one is the one that I very first read of like age gap, where I was like, oh, this is interesting. I don't know how to feel about that.
Are any of these books young guys with older women?
Oh, yes. I did write one down.
Because we keep talking about younger girls with older guys, which is, I think, is more common.
Yes. I did write one down where it's the woman that's the older one. That is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. That's the one where I found that the girl is older. I don't know how much older. I didn't really read into it very much, but I do know that that one is for sure that. But yeah, it's not very common to have that because I think women don't want to feel older. I think maybe that's a thing, and maybe they feel insecure. I don't know.
That probably is. I mean, if you're thinking about what would the reason be for a woman to go after a younger guy? It's probably not his personality.
Maybe physical appearance. Like
only his physical.
How he
I'm just saying
treats her.
the only thing a young guy has going for him is his looks.
That's
because
fair. Not the only thing, but
there's
the very first
There's
thing.
very few things that are personality fascinating about younger men.
That's fair. Okay. So
probably the same. Never mind. I mean, that probably goes the same way for women. We can put this
in
too.
Our scheduled
Okay.
Conversation later. So that's a list of books.
Just saying, young people aren't that interesting.
They haven't developed yet.
I know. That's why they're not that interesting.
That's funny.
They don't go out. They're like, oh, it's all about like high school drama. Do you remember going through high school and being like, this is the most important thing that's happening in my life?
Yes.
And then you grow up and you're like, why did I think like that?
Yeah.
Why was my brain so focused on prom and all these other things? And you're like, I could have been so much more productive.
Every high schooler goes through that, though.
Yeah,
I think it's a rite of passage.
It is. And that's why you can't like stop the growth because everyone has to go through it, but you just like kind of hate your teenage self.
I know. I know. We all went through it. So this is what we're going to end on. So I was thinking the other day, like if I were to write an age gap romance, what would it be about? So I know. I was thinking.
Are you asking me, or are you
No.
talking out loud now?
This is going to be my idea. Yeah,
okay.
and I want
and you want
to
my
know.
reaction?
Yes, I want to know what you think. So
okay. Open mind.
I'm imagining this girl. She is in like.
Yeah. What other older
20.
men are you imagining about right now?
She's 20. She is at a concert with. Like a rock concert with her best friend. They're at the very front of the row by like the gates or whatever, like that separate from the stage. So the front
I got
row.
you.
So there are a line of cops. And so they like actual cops, not like from the venue or they're actual cops, because this is a really big rock star.
I got you.
So she makes eye contact with this really hot cop, and they kind of like eye flirt back and forth, and they kind of like joke with each other throughout the thing. Like they just kind of like, it's kind of funny.
Okay.
So then, I guess she couldn't be in her 20s, because what I was going to say is that she shows up for that next year of like senior year, or maybe she could be in college. I don't know, but he's the resource officer. Like he becomes the resource officer at her school. I don't know. So she would have to be 18. Maybe she like transferred schools or something. So she's 18. But he's like...
Here you go. Here's how you set it up. All right. She's at the rock concert. Same setting and everything.
Okay.
At the rock concert, there's drinking going on.
Okay.
But she has a mark on her hand saying that she's under 21.
Okay.
Okay. So she makes eye contact with a cop. She's flirting. And then she ends up grabbing like a bottle of beer and stuff. Yeah. And she's about to drink it. He's like, hey, you can't drink that. And he gets in her face. Make eye contact. She's like, come on, just a sip. And he's like, no, can't let you. And she's like, oh, take a... Like she tries to flirt with him. And so he's like... They take a selfie somehow or something like that. And then he grabs the beer from her as she takes the selfie. She's like, oh, jerk. He's like, just look it out for you. Yeah. And he walks away.
Okay.
Then he thinks she's 20, but then she runs into him again at high school. He's realized like, you're only 18. You lied to me.
Oh.
And he becomes the resource officer.
Okay.
There you go. There's
something, but also I don't like that she's 18. Like I want her to be older. I want her to be like 20, but he couldn't be the resource officer then.
She could maybe college. What if it was a college security officer?
Yeah.
I feel like those guys are normally younger though.
They are. I don't know. It'd have to be something that he is like there. I don't know.
Principal.
Do you know what I really like?
What?
I really like the romances where he's the bodyguard. Like I really like those books. So maybe he could become like a bodyguard or something.
Because she becomes famous or something.
Maybe
she witnesses a murder.
Oh, she goes into witness protection program or something, and he becomes her bodyguard.
He becomes the U.S. Marshal that's like watching her.
Oh, or maybe like 5 years down the road, she does get famous, and then he becomes her bodyguard. And then
that's such a long story to tell.
I don't know.
I think there's quicker ways to get to that.
Okay, those are some really good ideas, though. Thank you for adding that. I'm glad that you kind of helped me figure that out, because I don't know what path I was going down. So, anyways,
writing, it's what I do.
It's what you do, and you're very good at it. You have a very creative mind.
Thank you.
So that is age gap romance. It's definitely not my favorite trope, but I'm willing to read it if someone recommends a book to me. We'll just say that. I
like mistaken identity tropes.
Oh, okay. So tell me, like, what do you like about it?
It's the comedy that comes from the funny mistaken identity.
Like, oh, I'm this. Oh, I'm not actually that. Like, I just have to go along with it now.
Yeah, let's go with Shakespeare's Twelfth Night.
Oh my gosh! Please don't. Oh. You're really gonna talk Shakespeare to me?
Well, no. Okay, you know the movie She's the Man with Amanda Bynes?
Yes,
that's Twelfth Night.
Is it?
That's Shakespeare's Twelfth Night.
Oh, okay. So I like that movie. So continue.
Yeah, no, that's it. It's a woman shows up and she dresses as a man, and so she gets to be privy to all the male conversations as they talk about different women.
Okay,
but she's one of the women, so it's kind of like she gets to be a fly on the wall, but she's a man. So now there's like
I like that
it's
too.
Like, I know all of these things about him.
Yeah,
and I shouldn't.
I like that. Okay, good. I like that as well. Good.
Yeah.
Good job, honey.
Whatever.
I love it. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. I hope we kind of convinced you to read age gap romance. I don't know what's our stance.
Yeah, if you like age gap romances, Tav listed off the list. Real quick. Here, say the list again one more time.
Well, I'll put it in the show notes below.
You put it in the show notes?
Yeah.
She'll put it in the show notes below.
Yeah, and also I figured out if you go on TikTok and do like the hashtag age gap romance books, you have to put books at the end, else they'll have people show up with their own age gap romance, and then you'll see videos you don't want to see.
I think if you type that into your TikTok or
age gap
any
romance
search
books,
thing,
you have to do books.
Well, even if you write books, I'm pretty sure you're going to get served up all sorts of things.
Very true. So hopefully my algorithm isn't all messed up with that. Now we'll see.
Hopefully
Anyways, I'm very grateful for you guys. Definitely follow me on all the social medias. I'm on YouTube with these videos, so if you want to see who we are, what we look like, how we talk to each other or something.
Or if you want to preserve the magic and just keep listening to us.
That's right. Follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. Definitely give me a follow and rate and review. It definitely helps me out. And Instagram, Threads. I am on Facebook somewhere. Maybe find me. I don't know. But anyways, all the social medias.
Find Me in a Book podcast on Facebook?
Yeah, page? I created a page, but I never go on Facebook.
No
so
one's
it's
really
kind of
using Facebook like that anymore. Facebook's more like groups.
Yeah.
But we're getting bogged down in details.
Yeah. I don't want to create a group yet. Just kidding. Anyways, follow along and we will talk to you next week.